For example, unpaid, deficient, and unsupported caregiver, unpaid, deficient, regulation number 12, and unsupported caregiver qualifies for a social protection benefit if the caregiver is a Kenyan citizen who, living below the income threshold provided for under Regulation 14, is an unpaid primary caregiver of a person in need, has no alternative support from another caregiver or reliable income, or is a primary provider of regular full-time and unpaid care. Mambo iko hapo maswala kadhaa, but already you can begin to understand that now the regulations give you a more refined and last mile detail on who is able to benefit from a social protection benefit. Up ni juu kupiga ni nani? Yes, yeah, tusaidie microphone pale.
I was in a function where...
Iko low kiasi.
Are you now okay?
Yeah, it's okay. It's
okay now.
Yeah.
I was in a function where somebody asked me why you have to wait until, you know, in the Bible, you are given up to 70 years. After that, you are supposed to go. So if God gives you 70, you're just so safe. Somebody is asking, why do you wait until we are able to go? It's when you want us to benefit from the cash transfer.
Yeah, thank you.
Then another question.
Yes.
Somebody who is not 70 years of age.
Yes.
Is he able to, nowadays the people have access to the court and the rest. Can he take you to court why you have not taken him on board when he feels to be on board?
Yes, thank you for those two questions. Number one, the Act now cures that by speaking to the age of older persons, 60. So the moment you are 60 plus 1 hour, you are now qualified to apply. When this thing comes to effect, ideally the program 70 plus ceases to exist because now it acknowledges poor older members of the society. It will begin from 60, now and apply hivyo. Number two is any person who may not be 60, may not be an orphan, or is not a person with disability, 55 and poor, 40-something and poor, that person has the right to apply for a social protection benefit by virtue of this clause here. If that person feels that he is in poverty, extreme poverty, which irrespective of the age and the category, that person can apply and be considered. If they don't provide for you, you have appeal mechanism. Lakini sio kama sahi, in the current program before the act, you realize that those people did not have a place because kama sio eti kuwe taken care of by CTOVC program, awe caregiver or CTOVC ama PWSD, him as a person or her as a person could not benefit because you are not yet 70, 60-something, and you are not taking care of an orphan, or you are not taking care of a person with disability. That was a problem. But right now, with this act in place, those people, they can easily fall under persons in extreme poverty, and they will be covered.
It is also good to add that at the time you are working on this, on the regulations and the act, we are aware the Disability Act was already out. So a lot of provisions that are there, you have to kind of line up, cross-check so that you don't come up with different things. So that was really looked into. And just the way Richard said before, we also look at our constitution. Who is an older person? That is what we were also lining up with. Thank you.
Yes, pass the microphone there a minute.
Okay, I'm thinking about that crowd of the provision of persons in extreme poverty. Eh?
Yes.
And you have said now, irrespective of the age, if one can prove is an adult but in extreme poverty.
Yes.
How will it go? And I'm thinking even the youthful people who are not employed can prove that they are not able to get that 4360 in a month.
They should be able to benefit if they meet the income threshold. Because we are saying, even them, why should we keep them from benefiting? kama ni kijana, because again we are looking to a time when this benefit is not permanent. You'll not be getting there as a youth na unasema tu nitakula mpaka nikuwe mzee huko. We are having programs intermediary because those youths, they can come in as persons in extreme poverty, and we know they are youths with labor. We channel them and give them not a cash transfer, we give them a complementary program that is able to get them into a productive investment. So not all people will be given one kind of support. Some will get into cash transfer by virtue of how they are. Some will be given other social protection programs that are designed. That's why you saw in the categories, ile side ingine, pande ilikuwa na cash transfer na in-kind, ile side ingine ilikuwa na skills development and something, which is able to sharpen their skills for productivity across the value chain. Paya jirani microphone.
So my question is,
yes,
how will income be measured for older people in multi-person households where income is informal, variable, and hard to observe?
Iko hapo mbele tu, wewe usikonde. Hata kama hatutaenda ndani, but you see income can be measured. That's why we did not measure. There was something that played in our mind. Was it economic situation? And we used income threshold because you can use either proxy means or you can use combined. You can use a PMT to be able to calculate a household's income so that you know their welfare. You can use that's why the tool is there. It will combine a number of proxies together with other instruments to show the welfare status of that household. And you can say, this is the level of income of that household. You will see it through a PMT. That's why there is the means testing. There is a whole clause on the means testing to tell you how do we calculate the welfare of a particular household to be able to determine. Thank you. Watch it to song. Okay.
On disability,
yes,
there's a big problem there.
Yes.
In the sense that this idea that we must have a certificate from the National Council for Persons with Disability is normally a very big process.
Yes.
And I know, though I don't have any statistics, there are so many people who are disabled, but because they don't have that particular certificate, they're not able to access the same. And sometimes people by their nature even hide them. So what do you need to do differently so that at least these people are able to benefit? And then secondly, in the same disability, there are people who are supposed to confirm that you are really disabled. The kind of questions they ask are very embarrassing, for lack of a better word, to somebody who is disabled.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that can be tackled.
Thank you, Director, for those two questions. Two things. Number one, for the first question, looking at, there are a number of people who are locked out by virtue of the delays and the hassles around registration, which are operational issues. And some of those operational issues are simply somebody not playing to the standards. They find standards because I know Kitambo used to have a scheme of service which tells you this service should be accessible in X number of days. And if not, there is a condition that is given. And this is the plight that many of our persons with disability are facing, that people are not playing tune to the required number of days for registration, so that that certificate becomes, again, another instrument of marginalization, while it should have become an instrument for breaking the barriers of access. So two things, the Act, I think the Act of the Regulations has a provision for collaboration. And that's why you heard Madam Jacinta say, yes, even when we have put disabilities here, we really struggled because we are saying there is an act in place. How then do we legislate when there is also a Disability Act 2025? But then we said, yes, this is a key driver to poverty, and we are putting clear referrals and pathways to be able to get that particular support from the council. Yes, I agree that there are still barriers there, but we hope through the collaborative arrangements, like what has been done in terms of birth certificate acquisition in some areas, that you go and work with the registration of birth offices as you go to execute your activities. We can also look for policy shifts around how the vetting and how the the examination is done, because you realize in some places it is done by a team of doctors at the sub-county hospital, and they meet on a particular day. You miss that day, you don't find them. And unless the quorum is there, that thing will not also be done. Can we have a loop? And the way when I was still working in the field, I remember you could jazza the form at the county and sub-county offices, then it goes to Kenyatta to be cross-matched by somebody else before you get, all those loops. They are things that are operational. And operational now in the digital world, we can have a way by which this can be reduced, but then still maintaining the integrity. Because, Director, as we are saying, then within that disability thing, we still have also a lot of assumed disabilities that are not disabilities. Because people are also using proxies to be able to obtain certificates for disability when it is Kato, like this one of mine. I can register and I be taken to 65 years for retirement. Saa hii nataka kuanza kuitafuta juu naona retirement inakaribia. So a small thing, somebody will say, now that one is and it is a serious, you crowd off people who should be able to benefit, and yet yours in the strict sense is not really something that should warrant that level. So I know there are still a number of operational things to manage between the council, and that's why we pray. When the board is in place and it is efficient and very a high level of expertise, then they should be able to move and push some of the agencies to be able to up their game so that it doesn't become another instrument of marginalization. I think a lot still needs to be done, but we appreciate that it should not be an instrument of marginalization. Wacha tukimbie mbio kwa sababu somebody ananikodolea macho. So basically, that's what we are saying, that these are, so understand that even when I've rushed through this, we have unpacked each and every one of them from these articles on how each and every of those categories in the added eligibility should be able to access social protection benefits. I know I had already spoken to this, and I've said this is what is being layered on the specific eligibilities that you saw me speak to. And that is still operating within the categories that I spoke about. So when you see that there are cash transfers, and I said, as she asked that question, there will be particular cases when the board will look at that application and decide, yes, we were thinking at that point of application, we're thinking, do we give them a straight jacket where we say they examine themselves and say, I'm only applying for this kind of service? Or do we say we give them and then give a leeway where somebody can be able to, now based on your objective examination, utasema huyu, wacha tumweke kwa hii mradi kuliko hii. Those are things that will be sort of fine-tuned, but then that's why I was answering, mtu anaweza apply. Kwa sababu, applications will come from every quarter. Ikikaa kivyao. And people can misapply. Mtu anaweza sema ana apply kama disability, lakini ukiangalia hiyo case kwa undani, unapata kumbe ni case ingeenda kwa an orphan kwa sababu alikuwa orphan yenye akona disability, but ukiangalia mahali anaweza faidikia vizuri ni kwa disability program. So those are some of the small rooms you are leaving for the board to be able to make some of the decisions even when the applications have come. So that I say, this one I give in kind, this one I give an in kind of 3 months, so that after that, ametoka kwa hiyo danger. For example, it was persons in extreme, in a shock situation. You just give that support for the duration of the shock, and then after that, you transfer or refer to another service for resilience building or for recovery. Or I give this one a cash, or this one will require a respite care, and I need to do a referral to somebody from the health section. Kwa sababu najua kwangu, I don't provide that service. That service is being provided for by the medical practitioners. So I will be able to do effective referral for some of the specific things that we may require to administer. Tuko pamoja mpaka hapo? Is somebody happy? Hey. Ni sawa tu, tawavumilia tu. Part 3 is further administration on that. And that is where I know it might require a lot of time, which I may not really engage in. The application process, and I just highlighted for the older persons, because that is the convening we are looking at here. And when you look at registration in the regulation number 12, part 4. If you had accessed the regulations, na uangalie 12.4, inakwambia how now the older persons. I hope I've not lost somebody. Nimeanzia mbali kwa act. Na nimesema act imetambua ya kwamba kuna person in need anaitwa a poor older member of society. Na nimekuja nikasema kuna eligibility ambayo inakwambia na huyu older member of society in I think number 7, how should he qualify? Hiyo nikakava in number 7. I think that should be number 7. Yes, number 7 nikakwambia who as an older member of society is able to qualify. See, hiyo tumepita. Then we are saying, sasa nimeona nime-qualify. How do I apply as an older member of the society? So the regulations in regulation number 12.4, subarticle 4, now unpacks to you the process an older person can use to be able to apply for a social protection benefit. Ambia mwenzako tuko pamoja mpaka hapo. Unless kama watu wa nyuma tuko pamoja. Nilisema nyinyi ndio mita yetu, mkikwama klasi imezama. So we are saying number 4. Let me read verbatim. Where an application under subregulation 1 is made on behalf of a poor older member of society, the applicant shall attach a copy of the following documents. Now we are zeroing in on how then tuko kwa safari ya kuingia kwa system. Tulidefiniwa huko nyuma kwa act, tukakuja tukaangaliliwa kwa kichungi cha eligibility. Sasa tunataka kuweka mguu kwa ndani ya jinsi ya kunufaika. Tuko pamoja? And you are saying now, this is what they'll do. Number 1, and that's why you saw the 3 major eligibilities. One of them is registration. So they will attach the following document: an identity card of the older member of society to prove that indeed this person is 60 years and above. That is proven by the identity card. Kama akona passport pia lete, tukatai. Bora akona. But walisema the official document for identification is the national ID card. Where the identity card of the older member of society is not valid under paragraph A, a valid passport issued to the older member of society under the Kenyan Citizenship and Immigration Act. Tumesikia the second document. Haya. Where the person applying on behalf of a person in need is a representative, the identity card of the representative or valid passport issued to the representative under the Citizenship and Migration Act. I'm saying things that you need to provide for that older member of society to be able to get into the program. Nimesema ID card yake, kama hana ID apeane passport. Na kama kuna mtu anamchunga, which is called a representative, yeah, then huyo mtu pia anapeana nini? ID yake ama passport yake. Tuko pamoja mpaka hapo. Where the older member of society is a person with disability, a disability identification card issued to the older member of society under the Persons of Disabilities Act. Then finally, we are saying, where the older member of society has a chronic progressive condition, a report certifying the condition suffered by the older member of society is a chronic progressive condition issued by a licensed medical practitioner. Kulipa ni jambo hiyo, ni mbuga ingine tutaingia baadaye. So, you have seen that the provisions you have done, I have simply now narrowed down to make it very clear on how an older member of society can end up benefiting from a social protection benefit. Right from the acknowledgement that, yes, there is a category of persons in need called older members of society. Then I went further to say, even when they are older members of society, the proof that they are is, number 1, they are citizens of Kenya. Number 2, they have an income threshold. Then number 3, they have documents that can prove any other condition that they have. Then now somebody will ask me, but every Kenyan will now need to benefit. Then I say, no, I can tie the ends of that particular provision further by detailing how then do you ensure that only those who are due for that benefit are able to benefit. Then you say they prove that they indeed are 6 and above, and then if they don't, they can give this alternative document. But should that, in addition to that, they can also have a condition, and that condition can only be proven if it's a progressive condition by a licensed medical practitioner giving a report of their progressive condition, or a disability card issued by the authority in charge of proving their disability. Up to there, are we together? Because I'm only giving that one example. The rest, I am leaving out, even though they are there. Because it details for children, it details for all those categories of persons in need. It details even for the unpaid, unsupported, and unprotected caregiver that you have seen there.
So are you going to list the licensed practitioners?
No.
Sorry,
Licensed
no,
practitioners.
Use the mic.
Okay, she's asking, are you going to catalog the licensed practitioners? We are saying that mandate lies with somebody. There is somebody who licenses the practitioners in the country, so that when they come with that report, then we are sure that report is authentic. And with the other things we tried to jog around with, or from a government facility, or from a what, but they said all medical practitioners are licensed through a body recognized and given certification by the government. Okay, so very quickly, the other next sensitive part, as I almost want to wind up, is the application process. And I'd already referred to you in the Act about the application, but now further to that, we are saying there is a form that you use for application. And that form, we have attached it in the regulations so that it was passed together with the regulation on proof that that form adequately addresses and closes any gap that may be obtaining to matters application. So the form is addressed to the National Board, and it has fields, which if I have time, I'll be able to show you the fields that are in that form. So it is an attachment there, and we can be able to show it, but I'll not. But it has very clear fields. I can be able to show it on the Act. Then the documents that you have spoken to, you have had, and all those categories of persons, there are documents. If they touch on disability, they'll be required to support. If they are orphans, they'll attach their birth certificate or birth notification. And if they are orphans, they will be able to attach also the death certificate or death notification, the burial permit. If they are vulnerable children, there are custodians or their caregivers or foster care certificate, which many times only medical, not medical, but publicly accepted documents are then you submit it to the board, and the board will assess the application and subject it to a means testing. Remember, we said all. These are poverty-targeted. Social protection domain is poverty. Nyumba ya social protection is poverty and vulnerability. Kwa hivyo kuna mahali inaanzia na kuna mahali inatamatishia. Ndio maana when you see us speak to the means testing, then it means you must be able, all those eligibilities, one of the key things is that they must meet a certain income threshold to prove that you are poor and you deserve to get a social protection benefit. That's why after the board receives the application, then they submit it to the whole means testing process, and they'll be able to say this person qualifies for a social protection benefit, because that is one of the criteria for eligibility. If they want, as I said in the previous presentation in the Act, they can also, the regulations give opportunity for community-based validation. It is not like it is a must they have to, because some of the instruments do not work like all of it, but it is important that they do community validation. And remember, with the digital world now, you can do community validation through whichever way. You can do it through your constituent structures downstream, and you have a mechanism. You have ways you can do your community-based validation, and just to ensure that the community also owns up to the process. I'll be able to show the form, should there be need, so that we just are sure that the fields that are in the form are user-friendly, but also watertight enough to be able to...
Maybe Richard, just as an addition,
Yes.
it's also good, it is also good to let the team we have here know that during the public participation exercise in Kenya, that community validation came out a lot. All over, people were suggesting that the community should validate that are you really qualified or not. Actually, we were now grappling, now those documents, will they check, will they do what? But it was a big suggestion all over Kenya. The community must verify that you qualify or you don't qualify. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, very quickly.
But before you go to very quickly,
Okay.
I am saying this, and I think out of what I've seen happen, you need to work very closely with the disability department, because I am talking in respect to the person with disabilities. They normally go to be given that certificate. Then after 5 years, they're supposed again to go through the process, and it's normally a very rigorous process. And common sense tells you that if I've lost this limb today, and I'm on a wheelchair, why must I continue to be dragged going for this thing to check whether my limb has surfaced again, and it went? And then they ask very weird questions. Then lastly, when these people were building the road here, National Council for Persons with Disabilities, the APDK place, that is a place where people come, and when they come there, sometimes they're there up to midnight. Somebody who does not have means has to travel, has to try his means from Safaricom or flyover, or that roundabout. I don't know what happened with our ministry then. That flyover should have been put to connect to this.
To connect to the
So
facility.
somebody must have slept on the job. So me, I'm of the opinion that this idea that somebody has a disability, you lost even a limb, then after every 5 years you are dragged to go and prove that is your limb there or not
the
there.
limb is still missing.
It's very unfortunate. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Director, for that comment. Well taken. So, important things to remember around this, of course, I'm just saying other provisions in Part 4 is we have the registry in Part 4, and there we have detailed how the registry is to operate, not very separate from what we had in the Act, because it simply speaks to data protection, the kind of data that shall be there, how it shall be utilized. That is basically, and accepts also the referral about the registry. It also appreciates that it is going to be used as a pathway to referring beneficiaries to other government services, and of course the protection together with the other penalties and offenses. So I don't really want to dig so much into everything, but one thing that we are still emphasizing, which we need to know, is the integrity of doing everything. Penalties are there. There was a lot of contention around the penalties, because there's a penalty there that is speaking to 1 million shilling. There's also the one on recovery of whatever misuse of social protection benefit. For example, you obtained through fraud and you took payment that is not yours, and they're saying it shall be recovered from your estate or your assets. And somebody was saying, if this person is already poor and by default aliweza kukula pesa hiyo ya serikali, alafu sasa unataka kumpoverish zaidi kwa kukusanya mali yake na vitu zake zote. Ikawa mjadala mkali, lakini tunasema sheria ni ya kuzuia uhalifu. Si ni kweli? It is not, it's a deterrent. So we have a fine of up to 1 million shillings for some of those malpractices, and somebody was saying, no, that is very unfair, that is so high for some of these offenses that are not commensurate. Some are saying, what amount of money will you use to be able to recover 6,000 shillings from a beneficiary? Okay, all withstanding, hiyo tunasema, tutangalia. So the means testing is something that will be able to tell us. And I said with a caveat that, yes, we had put the figures there, but we are looking at putting the formula once we hit 6 months, so that we put that amendment to allow us be able to adjust. Because if not, then it means every time there is change in economic situation and we adjust, we'll have to amend the act. So we are simply running away from that. Community validation, it is very important. As you can hear, Madam is saying, it came out through the public participation, and that's why we kept it. The penalties, providing false information or misusing benefits may result into a penalty up to 5 million or imprisonment. So those are the serious issues that are surrounding this. So allow me to stop there, and you can still get a lot of this information from that website. We are also still reachable. And I just want to appreciate all of you for your patience. Poleni sana kwa kuchukua muda mrefu, lakini
I have a question.
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
I have a question.
Okay.
Oh, well.
Yes. So thank you for the presentation. It was very informative. I wanted to ask, we said after application and the other person or the beneficiary thinks that they still qualified, but they got rejected, they can submit an appeal.
Yes.
So is there like an estimated time, turnaround time for the appeal? How long should it take for them to get a response back?
I know there are places we provided duration for, but the appeal, I think we didn't, because the appeal, some of them have, you see, like you appeal to the office of the ombudsman, or you appeal through the High Court. We don't have control over that. Because for the ones that come to the board, that is where we have a duration of time. I'll double check, let me not say, where the board is bound to give. By the way, in between those regulations, even applications, and they all have timelines. The max is 60 days. Madam, was it 60 days or 90 days? They have a timeline, a max timeline where you get feedback, where you also provide back information, where, yes, for example, you gave us information, you realized you did not put the details for the beneficiary, we rejected that, and we told you adjust this. We have given timelines for you to respond and be able to get back even information for us. Registration, even the duration from your time of application to getting feedback on the status of your application. All those details are here. It's only that now I've not. It is. Yeah. Yeah, so a lot of details are in the regulations which we could not simply put to the table because of the time we had. But I invite us to read through, and we'll get a lot of information. There is a hand there and another one there.
I won't allow the hands for the time being, please. Please understand me.